And that's part of the beauty of polarity, right? Like the masculine can always make sure we're going in the right direction, while the feminine in all of us makes sure we don't miss the journey along the way.
Welcome to the Vibrant Couple. Today I have invited Ali Kole, a relationship artist, sensual muse who works with women and couples to increase pleasure and passion and intimacy. Ali, please tell us more about what you do.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Valdo, and it's a pleasure to be with you and with your audience. I am always thrilled to be in the company of people who want to learn to love better and deeper, and who really believe that passion and intimacy are qualities that can increase over time in a relationship, and that we're not destined when we're in a long-term partnership to have just a friendship that lacks some of that early chemistry. So that kind of tees up what drew me into this work, and then why I now offer it. I spent over a decade studying with some of the world's leading teachers in all of these domains: sensuality, relationships, spirituality, many different kind of sexual and pleasure practices. And then I started assisting different teachers and then teaching on my own. And so, with women, a lot of the individual work we do is around both keeping their sensuality and passion alive, especially as they have children. As we get older, our bodies change. How do we really tap into our own feminine gifts? And then how do we bring them to relationships? So how do we have power and agency and creativity and the desire and generosity and the devotion to actually bring those things to a partner, even if sometimes you might think that they don't deserve them. And then with couples, how can men support this process? What from the masculine side of partnership, or I also work with couples where the gender is fluid, so these roles can change, but whoever's holding that masculine pole in relationship, what do they bring that helps call that forward in whoever's holding the feminine pole? So really the relationship is a combination of what partner A brings, what partner B brings, and then specifically the dynamics between. So that's a lot of what turns me on, lights me up. It's been incredibly transformational being on this path with my own husband, who I've been with for almost 20 years. And it's really just a pleasure and an honor to help offer this to other people out there. It keeps it alive in my own life and has me meet wonderful people like you and your audience. So that's a bit of context for, I think, not only what I offer, but also why it's important, why it matters.
Please say more about what the feminine needs from the masculine to be radiant and juicy.
Such a great question. So I'll speak first from the feminine point of view. So oftentimes when women come into the work, and this was me in the beginning as well, there was this sort of in order to. So like, in order to give him this or be this way, he has to ... Now, there is certainly a role for the masculine to play, but one of the most impactful things I learned and that I work on with women is taking our power back. When you wait until your partner is a certain way to give your gifts, you're really giving away your power. And so I work with women to really rediscover and reconnect to our juice, our sensuality, our beauty, our radiance, our life force, all the energy that we actually intrinsically are. It has nothing to do with a partner. It's our birthright. And so women, we often get disconnected from that. Even like societally, relationship tends to work like the women kind of contort around the men and the man has all the power. And actually, from a spiritual point of view and a nature point of view, women are the source of the turn on and the juice. And so there's a whole kind of reawakening and education around that. So the first thing is for women to really gain some spaciousness around that question about, well, what does he need to bring? Because that's a way of giving away our power. Now, of course, the masculine, the partner, whoever the partner is, plays an important role in how this offering unfolds and is received and deepens. So I would say first and foremost, there's a safety component that's important. In order for women, there's something in our bodies that really consciously or unconsciously recognizes a trusted place and partner to reveal these things to. And now, one of the things that's great about committed partnership or being in these committed practices, because we do practice sometimes with people who aren't our life partner, we can gift the belief that there is safety here, because most of the time there is, but everything that the masculine can do to provide that safety. So that's everything from being really present, really available, eye contact, the body being actually showing up and obviously kind of there for the partner who's the feminine partner who's revealing. There's a grounding of safety. A deep breath can really help create a sense of groundedness and safety. The masculine really feeling their own feet, their own body. All of us these days in modern society tend to live in our heads quite a bit, and so the more we can get our energy down into our body, the safer actually we feel. And so with the masculine, before they come together with their partner, ideally, some meditation or some movement, things that really ground, slow down that thinking brain, deepen the breath, and really prepare the body to be with another body in the same space. And I'm not even talking touching or physically interacting. It's just two people being in a space. So that whole grounding and preparation, that safety, is a really important quality for the masculine to bring if they want to really draw out the most from their, feminine partner.
I want to have some feedback, feminine feedback for the men who are listening. Most men do not understand how much women see they are in their heads and that it is a total turn off. Is that correct?
Well, I wouldn't say we see it. It's the feminine, it's more of a feeling. Most feminine beings tend to be, this is a stereotype, so these roles can change, and especially these days, sexuality and gender, it's all very fluid. But the feminine energy in all of us is energetically more sensitive than our masculine energy is. Our masculine body, our masculine doing. I'm assuming your listeners have a general grounding in these masculine feminine principles, but happy to add some of that if not. But we all have masculine and feminine energy. We all have masculine and feminine bodies. So the feminine part of us, which tends to be more present in females, feels presence, feels energetic presence. So, but we can do it. I mean, this isn't limited to a gender, but whenever one person in an interaction is kind of lost in thought, thinking about, my to-do list, or the last conversation I had, or what I'm going to do after this, or how am I showing up? What does this other person think about me? Any of those things take our energy up into our head center. And so the person who is with you will feel you less, because we feel with our whole, head to toe body. And so we want to feel each other's heart. We want to feel each other's belly. We want to feel each other's groundedness, connection to the earth, solidness. And then in a polarizing situation where one is either dating or practicing polarity or exploring, creating that kind of more charged intimacy, we want to feel each other's desire, each other's sexual energy, whatever that might be that's appropriate to those, that particular dynamic. And so in order to feel the heart and the belly and the wisdom and the presence, that energy, can't all be up here. We won't be, these other parts will kind of be turned off. They'll be quiet and not really, they'll be a little numb or soft and not able to be felt or received by the other person. So that's kind of what the feminine is reacting to. Sometimes you can see it in a sense. I think some people are sensitive enough to almost see energy, but for the most part, it's a felt sense of, can I feel this person's heart? Can I feel them with me? And when we're in our head and in our thoughts, that diminishes that felt sense that this person is with me.
So these days where many men tend to be nice guys and totally think about what she wants, what she needs, what she's afraid of, what she this, what she that, and as a result are not able to be present, how much of that is a turn off for women? We hear nice guys, don't get the girls, but how true is that from a feminine point of view?
Oh my gosh, Valdo, there's so much in that question that you just, so first of all, I want to say that being preoccupied with thoughts of what does she want and make sure I don't offend her and thing is not really being a nice guy. I mean, it's the stereotype of a nice guy. But in your head is not the place to figure those things out. If someone is genuinely, it's a beautiful quality, and I'm so happy that the world has shifted and culture is shifting so that women's desires and women's safety and women's preferences is all entering into the consideration set and becoming important. That's wonderful and that's great. And I really, really applaud all the men out there who are, placing attention there, want to be better at that and understand all of that. And my invitation would be to ask her to feel it rather than trying to figure it out and guess, that there's more of this process of noticing. So, is she breathing? Well, are you breathing? Am I breathing? There's a way of paying attention to your partner, to the feminine, and attuning to that will provide all that information that the nice guy is after. So I would really encourage, if someone wants to be a good guy, a nice guy, if they want to really bring something more elevated to the feminine, the place to start is by paying more attention to her. Not so much to your own thoughts and trying to suss and analyze and figure it out. So that really will give you a lot more of the information. Now, you don't want to ask every little moment, do you like it like this? Do you like it like that? Part of why we do workshops and practices is we create very structured containers to give and receive feedback, because feedback is really helpful to get information and to learn and grow. But in an actual date situation or at home, that can kind of interrupt the energetic flow of things. So, we encourage the men, we tune them up to get more observational. Is her body closing? Is her light dimming? And then you try something new if that is happening. Maybe you slow down, you breathe deeper, you try a little thing and you notice, does her body open? Does she smile? Does she brighten? Women are giving you information all the time. And I would say, it's not a nice guy, not nice guy thing, but most men are just not yet really as attuned or trained to pay attention and pick up on those signals. So that's a really great place to start, is paying very close attention, and not just with your head, but with your whole body. Can you feel her light? Can you feel her light spread, or do you feel her kind of less? And if you feel her less, what did you just do? Maybe you looked away or went up into your head. So that's a lot that I just gave you. These are all skills. One of the things that really drew me into this work and kept me in it, and why I now teach it, none of us had any idea that there's actually a skill set to learn. We go to school for so many things. I mean, I'm a former CEO, big person in the business world. I went to so many schools to learn that, and we don't have that really for relationship. But these things I'm describing and these ways of loving better, being received more the way, our intentions and our desires and the truth of our heart is often very beautiful and big and magnificent, but then we're often clumsy and unskilled in how we offer it, and then it doesn't go well. And we feel misunderstood, we feel lonely, we feel rejected, we feel like a failure. But it's really like expecting someone who's in elementary school to do calculus. We would never expect that. So now, you're a student of this, you're a teacher of this. We now have these schools, these trainings, so that we can become more artful, more skilled in how to navigate this world. So the desires of our heart, the way we want our partner to know we see them, we're able to artfully communicate that so it's received.
So you and I met in a David Data couple intensive 5 years ago, and you and Keith have attended numerous retreats. You assist, now you teach. I assisted in your last Depth and Desire retreat, which was wonderful. And then you give me the feedback that I was a lot more trustworthy. And so for the men listening, please tell our audience, what was more trustworthy about me that, in the 5 years you've seen me evolve?
It's a big question. So I've touched on before. It's just you've been working on this, and these are skills. And so, when you're with someone who just started playing piano, and then you're with them after they've been playing for 5 years, there's just a much more of an awareness of the skill development in really all areas. Your presence, your attunement to me, I could really feel. One thing that we haven't talked about yet that I will say that I notice, and this is most men, the ability to manage one's own energy is a key piece of this artistry, this skill development. So oftentimes the masculine in all of us is a go, go, go. Like it's a builder, like, slay the deer, build the building, win the war, and there's very much of a penetrating kind of forward moving kind of an energy. And that's really beautiful and really productive and there's a lot of avenues in life where that energy is really, it serves deeply. Sometimes the feminine, that can feel a bit like too much if it's not attuned to where we're at. The feminine often likes to start a little slower. We like to enjoy this moment. We're not yet worried about where we're going. And that's part of the beauty of polarity, right? Like the masculine can always make sure we're going in the right direction, while the feminine in all of us makes sure we don't miss the journey along the way. And so in your energy of goal orientation and getting us where we want to go, what I noticed is you have more of an ability to hold that energy, to still have it, but it's not like coming out all over. It wasn't coming out all over me when we interacted. And so that ability for a man to hold his energy is a part of what makes someone feel trustable. And then in particular, that shows up in the sexual realm, where again, the sexual drive for a man is often to penetrate, right? Like there's a biological drive, there's a physiological drive. And so, especially when we come into polarity practice, that can feel kind of violating to women because we're not a yes to your sexual penetration yet. Like we don't even know you yet. And so the ability of a man to have his big energy, but kind of rest with it and not have it coming out. It's a very important skill to develop. And ultimately, a woman will be far more inclined to invite a man into her body, into her sexual space, when she trusts that he's in control. He can direct his sexual energy. He can, and therefore he can also have a lot more awareness of her body and what, and the energy and the emotions of a moment. So I think even when we don't interact sexually with someone, that penetrative energy, that sense of whether someone is masterful of their own energy, does have a lot of import as to whether a woman trusts a man or not. And I felt like your ability to I wasn't judging it in this way. I didn't put these words on it, but the felt sense in my body was I could stay more open. I did not have to close a little bit to, like, it wasn't too much energy for me or that kind of thing. So I don't know. It's always hard to put words on these. They're feeling concepts, but that's kind of my best take at it.
That's wonderful because in my personal life, I'm looking for my life partner. I have been practicing showing up fully and not wanting to engage until I'm sure this is my life partner. This is a very important boundary for me. And so that practice of showing up fully with a boundary has been very different than somehow the nice guy wanting his woman, but somehow putting a brake on his sexual desire for her because somehow he should do this before and should do that before and should do that before he somehow can penetrate her.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the beautiful things about these practices that we do, that we teach, that you experienced in the workshop Christopher and I led, we really seek to expand everyone's conception and perception of what is sexing, what is exchanging sexual connection and sexual energy. So, especially for the feminine, but really for all of us, there is such a rich world to explore in subtle energy, in exchanging dark energy, light energy, and intense energy, more mild energy, playing with each other like we're a maestro, and the other person is the orchestra, and we're conducting the symphony of like delights in each other's bodies. And so, the societal view on sex is like so narrow and so goal oriented and directed, and it's so fast and quick, and then it's over. And so I think I love what you said about not just locking it down. This is not about locking it down, but it's about really expanding our definition and the playing field so that we can play and enjoy and commune and explore and discover each other in just infinite ways that we were not previously. The movies don't show us this, and the fairy tales and the books, and they don't really speak of these things. But this world is such a rich playground where we don't lock down. The only reason we have to lock down our sexual energy is if we don't have mastery of it. As you become more masterful with how to let out a little, how to wield it in a dark way, how to tease someone with it, how to pull it back. I like to think of it like it's like a dial, and when you get fluid and facile and artistic and masterful with your own dial, you never have to lock it down, because you just can turn your dial down and when that's appropriate, and you can turn it up when it's appropriate.
I've been practicing a lot last 5 years in David Deda's retreats and his retreats from his students. And some of the most potent practices are when I or the person I was practicing with could not get into the practice and we were struggling. And somehow we said, hey, and just accepting that struggle liberated and gave the space for a much deeper intimacy. And I want to add, for anyone listening, all these workshops are fully closed, not kissing, not touching any sexual or erogenous parts. But there is something that came from that acceptance of that struggle.
Yeah, yeah, so true. Another thing that constrains us a lot is this self-judgment that, we have to be perfect, we have to get it right. And then equally, if we're in practice with a partner, their own tight nervous system that overreacts, that like can't have a fluidity, a generosity. So one thing that we really work on with people, we've been talking a lot about how we manage our own energy and offer our own energy. But another equally important thing to cultivate to be a good partner is the ability to have humor and more flexibility and resiliency. It doesn't mean putting up with something that you don't like, but do you have the courage to give your partner a little or just give them like a little, not like that or not yet, something that doesn't slam the door closed on relating, but also helps train them to be a more skillful lover, to be a more skillful energetic practice partner. So we work with particularly the feminine. The feminine is just used to being, violated or putting up with, things that we don't want. And so the feminine often has an overly quick slam the door closed kind of thing, or, nope, not like that. And so we try and train the feminine in particular. Masculine also, like we don't want people to put up with things that are very distasteful to them, but we do want you to be able to keep your heart open and stay engaged while you give the feedback, not like that. I loved this, and I would have loved it even more if you were a little slower or with less talking. We we always try to offer praise and an acknowledgement of what works well. And to your point about keeping going, those kinds of things really help us keep going. You have to know you did something right. And when you get the feedback on what didn't go that great or what they didn't love or what was clumsy, that their heart is open, like, I'm with you. I want you to get better at this. I want to receive you better, and I want to, I want to help you become a better partner for me or for your partner at home or a future partner. And so it's very important for both partners to stay, first and foremost, safe, connected, on each other's side, on the same team, while we give this feedback with an open heart.
So curiosity, playfulness, a lot of courage to both say no and learn to say no in a way that is a yes and,
Yeah.
like in improv theater.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, some people need to learn a stronger no, and
Hmm.
some people need to learn a softer no. So we get all kinds of people, you come in, you have your whole life's history before you come into the room, and we all could love better. We all could give feedback more artfully. We all could, you know, also broaden our own tastes and preferences. So one of the other things I work in particular with women on, so men tend to be better at appreciating a wider range of energies and
Yeah.
flavors. Usually men are like anything goes. They like all the energies. They like variety. They like the blonde, the redhead, the brunette, they like the ingenue and also like, the very experienced one. They like it all. Cheerleaders, CEOs, boss babe, you name it. Guys like, yeah, bring it on. Women tend to be often a little bit more narrow, which is really just a function of comfort. Like, what have they experienced before, or what influence, what movies shape them, their culture, their family upbringing. So we really work on expanding what feels good. And I know in my own personal practice, one of the things that one of my teachers helped me realize is oftentimes I reacted like I was irritated or displeased when I was actually just surprised. And so I got better at communicating, oh, it was unexpected. It took me by surprise. I didn't know yet if I liked it or not. And so we interrupted that habitual reaction of doesn't automatically fit my sense of pleasure or feel good. So I'm a no, or don't do that, or not that. But maybe there could be this space of, oh, wow, what's that? Or, interesting space, this curiosity that you mentioned. So we work with women really on directing often women's attention goes to what I don't want. And so how do we keep more of their attention on, okay, what does feel good in this? Maybe I don't like 90% of it, but is there even 10% that I do like? Because women can often be overly biased toward what they don't like, and so that can really curtail their ability to help a man learn and expand and grow. So we put a lot of attention on, without putting up with things you hate or that really don't feel good or hurt, how do we broaden your awareness of what actually does feel good?
I love this, and this feels very opening to me because for most men, hearing from women what they don't like is a turn off. And actually
Yeah,
is very emasculating.
yeah, yeah,
And when a man is emasculated, there is no longer a worthy man to invite her, be chivalrous with them, to somehow slow down.
yeah.
And
Yeah. I mean, one thing I would say to the men, to you and the men out there,
yeah,
if a woman is just giving you what she doesn't like, if you could just hold the pose and hang in there, I know there's the collapse that comes from that, to just ask, what did you like? Or was there anything in that you liked? You can help train. Now, obviously, in workshops, we do a lot of this. We direct the questioning and the feedback, but even at home, helping take some responsibility for her not just knocking you down, not just giving you what didn't work. It is helpful, because you're in there doing your best. Like, you didn't intend to piss her off or turn her off or hurt her or whatever happened. Um, and she kind of knows that, but she forgets. So I do think that there is something for the men to remember that, like, you can always ask her, I got that. I heard these things you don't like. Was there anything in there you liked? You know, women have been stepped on in a lot of ways, mistreated in a lot of ways, and I think also, though, equally, you know, the tenderness of men's hearts is also a little bit underrated, and women being a little bit both. This is sacred work. This is not for the faint of heart. I just try and work with everybody on just being kinder and more generous and more positive while being honest. Like, not selling out on the feedback, but being kind and generous at the same time.
The belief I have in that territory is that most women don't even know how painful it is for a man to hear no and to hear what is not working.
It is each person's responsibility to be aware of the tenderness of their own heart. It is not your responsibility, Valdo, to, it's a gift to take care of her heart. It is an honor. It is a growth area that you step into. Likewise, for her, if she wants to, this is a hard thing to say. There's a way that we can try to be responsible for another person's feelings, but we're actually not responsible for their experience. So I would really, we do work with everyone to try and be aware that every person is doing their best, and every person has a tender heart, and every person responds, you know, wants to hear what worked well. And if you're going to give feedback on what didn't work well, we want that to be given with an open heart in a kind and generous way. Now, if the recipient of that feedback collapses, that is on that person. So we really work both sides of this. We work, how can I do my best to give this artistically, to offer myself in a way that is artistically beautiful, is creative, is powerful, is however magical, however I want to offer it. But we also work on the recipient to not have your whole well-being rise and fall on whether this person is clumsy or masterful, because we're all going to be clumsy sometimes. And so we don't want our well-being to ride and fall on the other person's skill set or fatigue or generosity. So we really work on both. In this work, it's very beautiful. Everyone becomes more sensitive and more aware of the impact they have on another. But we also grow our self-awareness, our power, not to let how this person is say something universal about me. So when we rotate partners, that's part of why we do that. We say, take this feedback in. Does it feel true for you? This might be just particular to that person. It might not feel true to you. It might just be their preference. We want you to get the feedback, but we don't want you to make it mean it's the full truth, because it's just a moment and it's just one person's input.
I love that because on a personal level, I have worked on my masculine stoicity, basically to remain present and strong in the face of whatever I receive. But I've done that in a way my heart remains open and my body stays sensitive
Yeah.
to the feeling, to the sense I get from my feminine partner, and not as a, I'm a tough guy, like, he's advertised everywhere on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, think about how incredible it would be if someone gives you feedback, you feel yourself collapse or close or whatever. When it's done, for me to be able to say, hey, I realize I closed. I kind of left you for a moment. I really want your feedback. Can you give it again? I want to really open my heart. It's hard to hear feedback sometimes. Would you be willing to give it again? I want to really open my heart. I promise you, the second time, the other person is also going to open their heart and be more kind, and the feedback will be better the second time. They will be more aware and conscious and responsible the second time.
What you just described is a skill that so few couples have. You know, sex is supposed to be natural and spontaneous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah. And I mean, that's where I'm saying we're like, that you heard me. I was responsible for my collapse when I did that. I didn't say, God, how can you talk to me that way? Or I didn't, this scenario I just hypothesized, one's assuming that the person who gave the feedback didn't give it very artfully, right? They weren't very kind. So I collapsed. But I was able to be responsible for my collapse while also calling the other person to more greatness. And I think this is one of the greatest gifts of long-term partnership is we bring out the best in each other. We stand for each other's growth, and we love each other through the moments when we forget and we're small, but we also help, bring each other to more fullness, our greatest self.
please say more about your upcoming retreat.
Christopher and I are doing another retreat, Depth and Desire, we call it. It starts Friday night, November 15th, and runs through Sunday afternoon, the 17th. It's in the Boulder, Colorado area. It's a co-ed event. We gender balance these events. People come with their relationship partner. They come as single people. And we also get people who come who are in a relationship, but their relationship partner doesn't come with them. And so throughout the exercises and practices that we do together, you always have the option to work with someone you came with if you want to, but we really encourage and try and set it up for you to work with a wide variety of different people so that you can give and receive this feedback. It's often easier to break habits and hear feedback and give feedback to someone who is not your partner. And so while we will often, if you did come with a partner, finish the night, and our most intimate practices, we do have people who've come in a couple come back together. As you mentioned, we're fully clothed. There's no kissing. There's no sexual contact. We are exchanging energy, so people have to be on board with that. And we do have an application and interview process to make sure that it's suited to whoever's coming, and we kind of know what you're expecting and wanting, and we can, reassure that it's going to work for everybody. People reach incredibly transcendent states of the deepest heart connection and the greatest turn on they have ever experienced in these workshops. It's absolutely incredible what happens. And that can be with someone you've been with for 20 years. I constantly have energies and experiences with my husband. I've blow my mind that I've never had before. I see him in new ways. He sees me in new ways. And people can have these epic mind-blowing experiences with someone they just met 24 hours before. There's something about the container that gets created and the guidance that enables us to traverse and go to these places that we don't find on our own at home. And then afterwards, we help you figure out how can I take this home and all that kind of thing. It's truly, whether you're in a partnership or you're not, these weekends give you an opportunity to have the kind of depth and love and ecstatic bliss and habit decimation and new energy that we all long for. They are really just like lifetime high points.
So, two individuals that are curious, courageous, that are working zealously on being more and more sovereign individually, on empowering their partner, and then coming together in the alchemical cauldron of sex and intimacy.
Yes. Oh my God, Valdo, poetry there in what you just said.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. Hopefully, many people will be turned on, and I'm using that word very intentionally here, by what you offer, and will sign up to that retreat that you offer, I understand, every quarter. If this video inspired you to liberate more love, please hit the like button below and subscribe so you can be notified when I publish new juicy content. And please share with all you believe would benefit. I look forward to seeing you very soon.